Yeah, good day, my lovely students. You're welcome to class today. In our class today, we shall be taking a detailed review of the various elements of poetry, what makes poetry unique and what makes it distinct from other genres of literature. In our last class, we looked at figurative use of language, where we were able to learn that figurative use of language can be subdivided into figure of speech as well as figures of sound. Okay, we looked at various figures of speech and we also looked at some figures of sound where we looked at alliteration. We also considered assonance. We considered consonance. It is my belief that you've been able to learn one or two things that has to do with figurative use of language. Okay, so for our class today, elements of poetry. I know you want to ask, what do we mean when we say elements of poetry? Elements of poetry, in a nutshell, they are those elements that are unique to poetry, that makes it distinct from the other genres of literature, like drama or prose. Okay, so talking about these elements of poetry, we're looking at the features of poetry. And one of such elements that we'll be discussing today is prosody. You might want to ask, what is prosody? What's prosody about? Well, prosody can be defined as the study of the meter, rhythm, and intonation of a poem. I think I want to take that again. Prosody is the study of the meter, rhythm, and intonation of a poem. What comes to mind when we talk about meter and rhythm in poetry? Meter and rhythm gives that musicality to the poem. It creates that musical texture of a poem. And yes, that is the core essence of prosody. Then another element we shall be considering is canto. Canto. Canto is spelled as C-A-N-T-O. What is canto about? Canto is unique to poetry. It's like the collage of the various stanzas in a poem. Collage of the various stanzas in a poem. And for canto, we use it when we are considering very lengthy poems, like an epic. You know, an epic is always a lengthy poem that tells the story of a people. Okay, so when we talk of canto in poetry, it can be likened to chapters like we have in prose. Okay, so the canto is a collage of the various stanzas that make up the poem, especially when we are dealing with a very lengthy poem. Then another element that is very important we consider in this teaching today is enjambment. Enjambment. I know most of you are familiar with the term enjambment. Most of you, let me not say you are all familiar with it. Most of you are familiar with enjambment. And the question might be, sir, what is enjambment? Enjambment, like some of you are aware, is the flow of an idea from a line of a poem to successive lines. Okay, so another name for enjambment is also known as run on line. Run on line. Yes, that's another name for enjambments. Okay, now some other features we'll be looking at in this work is meter, rhyme. Meter, rhyme. Okay, then when we say meter, rhyme, what are we talking about now? For reading, okay, reading as a feature of a poem is born out of the fusion of this meter and what? And rhyme. Okay, this meter and rhyme, they, like I told you earlier, give that musical feel, that musical feel to a poem. Okay, it gives that musicality, the texture to a poem. We'll also be considering another element which is known as tercet, which is spelled as T-E-R-C-E-T. T-E-R-C-E-T. Tercet is a group of 3 successive lines in poetry. 3 successive lines in poetry rhyming with one another. Okay, rhyming with one another. So we have very numerous elements of poetry, but for the constraint of time and space, we will not be able to consider all these elements. Okay, so that's why I've been able to itemize some of these elements for consideration. So it is my belief as students, because I know you are very inquisitive students, so it is my belief that you'll be able to do your own personal research. Okay, you do your research, you study your textbooks, come up with some of these other elements that I've not been able to discuss with you on this platform today. Okay, and I will want you to engage me, ask me some of these your salient questions using the notes and questions section. Engage me, let's have this intellectual discourse together. And it is my belief that by the time we discuss, we'll be able to chart new courses for ourselves as regards these very interesting topics that borders on elements of poetry, which makes poetry unique and distinct, different from the other genres of literature. So it is my belief that in our next class, I'll be looking forward to an engaging and more robust time with all of you. Thank you.